It's the Pro Sport Report with Jim Capsa. Exclusive interviews with guests from the world of professional and amateur sports. The Pro Sport Report is the only sports show that features exclusive forecasts of professional baseball and football games and other major sporting events utilizing sports biorhythms. Now, here's your host on the Pro Sport Report and resident authority on sports biorhythms, Jim Capsa.
Hello again and welcome to the Pro Sport Report. I'm Jim Capsa and I've got one of my biggest smiles on my face today because I've got some really special guests. One in particular, not to demean the guy sitting next to me. This is John Simon, senior baseball player. John, thanks for being on the show again. You were on a few years ago, right?
Yes, I was.
And we're both honored to have Andy Pafko on. Andy, thanks for coming on the Pro Sport Report.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Chicago Cubs legend, Andy Pafko.
I don't know about legend, but I was there.
Well, I'll tell you. I don't know if you can see this baseball card, but here's an article from March of 2001. And that's Andy Pafko's photo right there. That's the first baseball card ever made by Topps in 1952. Andy was card number 1, and this card in 2001, which was a couple years ago, sold for $83,000. And in a minute, I'm going to ask Andy if he's got one of these cards and see what he says. But here's another card that I got at the Cubs convention a few years ago, and this is, even though it's a modern-day card, it's a picture of Andy in the 40s out at Wrigley Field snaring a line drive, it looks like. And I was up in Milwaukee on March 27th, and Andy Pafko was honored along with Alvin Dark at the Milwaukee Braves Historical Association dinner. And I was Andy was kind enough to sign his program here for me. And I've got a couple other things to show you too, but I want to just read off real quick a couple of things about Andy Pafko. 17 years in the big leagues. Of course, the Chicago Cub fans, you know, he was one of the all-time favorites for the Cubs. Played in the 1945 World Series for the Cubs. Played in the 57 and 58 World Series for the Milwaukee Braves, the world champion Braves in 57, and then played in the World Series with the Brooklyn Dodgers. I got to say boo to that, but Andy enjoyed himself. That was 1952. They played against the Yankees. Andy, you were telling me just before we started the show that you're the answer to a trivia question. Even I didn't know that. When Bobby Thompson of the Giants hit that shot heard around the world in a playoff game to put the Giants in the World Series over the Dodgers, who was the left fielder where the ball went over his head?
Yours truly. Everybody knew who threw the ball. Everybody knew who hit the ball, but very few people up to this day they don't. It was yours truly.
Yeah, Andy Pafko was the answer to that one. And John, you brought some cards and a baseball. I'll let you get in a few words here with Andy. Tell us what you brought here.
Okay, well, I have 3 baseball cards of Andy's, 1957, 58, and 59. All when he was with the Braves here.
See if we can, we'll do it this way, there. There we go. 57, 58, and 59, huh?
Mm-hmm. They're pretty good shape. I mean, they're not perfect, but for somebody who collected them 40 years ago or so,
yeah. I would imagine they're worth a lot of money right now. What about the ball?
The ball I brought is from when I went to the Randy Huntley's fantasy camp back in July of 1987. Andy was there, and I have his autograph on here. I just brought it to prove that I had met him once before. The thing I remembered about Andy at that camp was while we were taking batting practice and everybody was staying around the outfield, Andy was out there just shooting the breeze with everybody like he was one of the boys, so very down to earth.
Thank you.
Well, that's the thing that I made the biggest impression on me, because all these years I was admiring you as a Cubs ball player. I had to tell Andy that Phil Cavarretta was really my favorite, and Andy was my second favorite. But when I first met you up in Milwaukee at the Historical Association dinner, you were down to earth, you know, and Roland Heeman introduced me to you, and Roland is a good mutual friend of ours. And that's the thing that struck me most about you, just really a down-to-earth person. And
well, I
really
always
appreciate it.
I always consider myself a hard-working individual. I came up the hard way, and I earned my way through the minors, and then and I finally got to the big leagues, and of course I had some God-given ability, and I always gave it 100%, which unfortunately is not true today. I mean, the game has changed so much since I played. I mean, when I played for the love of the game. I mean,
there was no money, no big money back in those days.
I'll tell you a quick story. I come from a little town in Boydsville, Wisconsin, where I played my football. They honored me with an Andy Pafko Day, and they built a plaque in my honor stating all the World Series and so forth. And on the bottom, it was quoted, "Andy Pafko loved the game so much he would have played it for nothing." And when my wife saw it, she said, "You did, honey." Compared to today, you know.
Well, I was going to ask you about this Topps #1 in 1952 card. Do you have one of those?
Are you kidding? No, I gave away to the kids in the neighborhood, and they put them in their bicycle to make a noise in their spikes.
You know, another mutual friend of yours and mine, Johnny Logan, who played shortstop with you on your team in 1957-58, he told me that he made more money. He played 1 year in Japan after his major league career was over.
I recall that.
Do you? And he said he made more money in Japan that 1 year than he made playing in the major leagues. And well, why don't you tell the fans? I don't know if you can remember what you were getting paid, but it's minuscule compared to what the guys are getting today.
Well, my top salary when I was with the Dodgers, of course, I had some good years with the Cubs. My top salary was $30,000.
No kidding.
Of course, in those days, that was a lot of money. You can't compare $30,000 then now. But,
right.
But I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't care as long as I had a job. I played hurt. I'll never recall. We were playing the Cardinals one day in Wrigley Field, and Walker Cooper, the big catcher, he hit a line drive in left center, and I caught it for the third out, and I ran my right arm against the ivy. And then as the game progressed, I felt the pain in my elbow here, but I didn't. But by the time the game was over, I couldn't even take my uniform off. But I played the whole game. I went to the doctor, and I had a chipped elbow, and I played for 9 innings with a chipped elbow. I mean, so that's how I enjoyed my position. I was afraid to get out of the lineup because if you did, you'd lose your job.
Yeah, something like Lou Gehrig, right?
Right, exactly.
Anyway, you know what? We've got some videotape, and before we get into the show too much farther, I want to show you videotape of Andy in the 1945 World Series with the Cubs. And look, then we've got a surprise for you because Andy is quite proficient at playing the accordion, and he's been nice enough to bring it with him, and he's going to play a tune for us. But first, let's take a look at the 1945 World Series, Chicago Cubs against the Detroit Tigers.
Season, including 18 home runs. And here are some of the Cubs who sparked their pennant drive. Phil Cavarretta, first baseman, led the National League this year, hitting 355. Another Cub 300 hitter, Andy Pafko, led his team in the all-important runs batted in column with 111 to his credit. Stan Hackfield's right at home, tuning up for his 4th World Series, all with the Cubs. His dependable hitting is one of the Cubs' trump cards. Well, it won't be long now before this first game gets underway. So let's take a quick look around and see who's here. Fans, there's Walter O. Briggs, owner of the Detroit Tigers, and his son, Spike Briggs, looking pretty enthusiastic about the Tigers' chances. And right over there, well, it just wouldn't be a World Series without him, is the grand old man of baseball, Connie Mack, talking things over with William Herridge, president of the American League. Senator Chandler is on hand for his first series as the new commissioner of baseball. And here are the men who steered these teams to a championship, Steve O'Neill and Charlie Grimm. In 1944, Steve just missed the American League pennant by a single game. But here he is back, stronger than ever, with one flag tucked away and his eye on the World Championship. Charlie Grimm, the likable Cubs manager, piloted his team to a National League pennant as far back as 1932. He's been the Cub manager many years and has never finished in the 2nd division. The two starting pitchers in this important first game, Hank Borowy for the Cubs and Hal Newhouser for the Tigers. While the pitchers are getting ready, let's have a look at the lineups for today's game. For the Cubs, Stanley Hack, third base. Don Johnson, second base. Peanuts Lowry, left field. Phil Cavarretta, first base. Andy Pafko, center field. Bill Nicholson, right field. Mickey Livingston, catching. Roy Hughes, shortstop. And Hank Borowy, pitching. For the Tigers, Skeeter Webb, shortstop. Eddie Mayo, second base. Roger Kramer, center field. Hank Greenberg, left field. Roy Cullenbine, right field. Rudy York, first base. Jimmy Outlaw, third base. Paul Richards catching, and Hal Newhouser pitching. And the big moment we've been waiting for is at hand. The managers and umpires talk over the ground rules. The 1945 World Series is on. Play ball, the umpire says, and Stan Hack steps into the batter's box. Now Newhouser is on the mound getting his sign. Here's the pitch, and Hack slashes a grounder to Outlaw at third. He's out at first. Johnson followed with an infield hit back of second base. Then taking a good lead, Johnson breaks for second on the pitch, and he's safe. After Lowry flied to Kramer, Cavaretta beat out a slow roller to Mayo at second. Johnson going to third on the play. Then on a pass ball, Johnson scores and Cavaretta takes second. The Cubs start the fireworks with one run home. Pafko was purposely passed, and Big Bill Nicholson steps up to the plate. He swings and lifts a long fly to right center, 370 feet from home plate. Roy Cullenbine backs up near the wall, but the ball gets away from him, and Nicholson comes into third with a triple to his credit. Both Cavaretta and Pafko score, giving the Cubs a 3-0 lead. Mickey Livingston singles sharply to center, scoring Nicholson for the fourth run of the inning, with the World Series barely underway. In the Cubs' third, Johnson lined a double to right center, and after Lowry sacrificed him to third, Cavaretta hit one into center field for a base hit, scoring Johnson with run number 5. Andy Pafko followed with a line drive double to left center, scoring Cavaretta. After Nicholson popped to Mayo for the second out, Livingston singled to center, scoring Pafko. That put the Cubs in the lead 7-0, and that was all for Newhouser. Al Benton came in to pitch for the Tigers. Livingston was out stealing, ending the inning, and giving the Tigers a breather. Going into the last half of the fifth, Mayo singled sharply to left. Now the crowd is really on its feet, with the Tiger rally finally shaping up. After Kramer was out, Greenberg lined a single to right center. But when Mayo tried for third, he was out on a great throw from Pafko to Hack, and that killed the Tigers' scoring chances in this inning. The Cubs added 2 more runs in the 7th to make the score 9-0. With 2 men on in the Tiger ninth, pinch hitter McHale flies to Pafko to end the first game of the 1945 World Series with a one-sided victory for the Chicago Cubs, who hit when they had men on the bases. That was the story of their 9-0 victory in today's World Series opener.
Well, 9-0, Andy, and you were one of the stars of that game. You even threw a guy out at third base there.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Nice to see that again.
Right. And I want to show the fans a couple of things that I brought with me here. This is the 1950 Cubs yearbook. I'll put that right here. And here's Andy Pafko, my second favorite ball player next to Phil Cavaretta. Now you're my favorite.
Today.
You're my favorite. And I have, I'm not going to say how old I was just a kid here, but I have a kid's scorecard from July 13th, 1950. This is the scorecard, the game I went to that day. And Andy Pafko was 2 for 4 with a home run, and the Cubs won 6-4 over the Brooklyn Dodgers, who had guys like Roy Campanella, Gil Hodges, Jackie Robinson, Duke Snyder. All those guys were on that team. And you beat the Dodgers. I think that was one of the few times you beat them that year.
I think so.
But anyway, here's the 1951 Cubs yearbook. And believe it or not, Andy is right next to Phil Cavaretta in this one. There we go. Andy and Phil Cavaretta on facing pages, 1951. Well, that's enough of all these old annuals and scorecards and things like that. Let's talk about today. Are you going to play a song for us on your concertina?
Well, I'll try. It's not guaranteed.
All right. John, you have any questions for Andy about anything while he's getting his concertina on?
Not right offhand.
We call that a concertina or a miniature
Well,
organ?
I call it a squeeze box.
Squeeze box, all right.
But I think it's more or less of a concertina. Now, if I can find the right key, I'll be all.
What are you going to play?
Red River Valley.
All right. One of my favorites. That was great. You know, I had such an urge to sing along with you.
Why
but
didn't you?
I didn't want to ruin the song.
No. Oh, that's
What do you have to
of
say
fun.
about that, John?
Oh, hey, at least he had a career after baseball, huh?
All I need is an agent now, right?
Yeah. Maybe we can fix you up with one. I don't know. You know,
down.
we've got another videotape, and before we get too far into the show, I want to show the fans Andy Pafko later on. Exactly 12 years later, after that 1945 World Series, he played in the 1957 World Series with the Milwaukee Braves, also played in 58, but the 57 Braves team were world champions, and we're going to talk to Andy about that, but first we're going to look at the videotape right now. 1957 world champion Milwaukee Braves.
Red Shandy. Batting average, .309. Fielding, sensational. A master of the double play, Red was a perfect running mate for Johnny Logan. John's steady play at short and consistent hitting in the clutch made him a big favorite with the fans. At the hot corner, Eddie Matthews, who pounded out 32 homers, drove in 94 runs, and was one of the defensive heroes of the World Series with sharp fielding and rifle-like arm. In center field, the league's most valuable player, Henry Aaron. Pity the poor pitcher when Henry draws a bead and sends one whistling. Famed for his power hitting, Hank also covers plenty of ground in the outfield and did a great job in taking over in center field. In left field, big and burly John Wesley Covington. Recalled from Wichita in mid-June, West nailed down an outfield job and made 2 game-saving catches in the World Series. Hard luck man of the Braves, jolting Joe Adcock, who was again sidelined by injuries this season. Frank Torrey proved an able replacement, fielding brilliantly and coming through with more than his share of base hits. His average, .272 for the season. In right field, a platooning of experience and youth. Veteran Andy Pafko and rookie Bob Hazel, who contributed so much to the pennant drive. Catcher Del Crandall, whose early season clutch hitting got the Braves off to a flying start. Del Rice, considered one of baseball's smartest backstops. Charter member of the Braves' Big Three, Warren Spahn. Another 20-game season for Spahny, who's the Braves' best bet for baseball's Hall of Fame. Bob Buell, whose blazing fastball chalked up 18 big wins, 117 strikeouts, and a neat 2.74 earned run average. And, of course, Nitro Lou Burdett, the unquestioned hero of the World Series. Winner of 17 season games, Lou hurled 3 series wins. Lou's all business as he sidearms a third strike past the Cubs' Walt Morin. But he likes to enjoy life when he's off the mound. A natural-born comic, Lou's crazy cloning often eases the tension in tight situations. Yes, it's an all-star cast that heads for Bradenton, Florida in the spring of 1957. Well remembered as the bitter defeat of the '56 season, the Braves are a determined bunch as they launch their spring training. Manager Fred Haney maps out the program. Hard work in the spring can mean a pennant in the fall. And hard work it is. Calisthenics iron out winter kinks and prepare the boys for even more grueling exercise to come. Hours are spent in learning how to get the jump on the pitcher. Just like the Army days, it's done en masse, by the numbers and in quick cadence. The sweat's really beginning to roll. Three-way training sees Buell pitching, the batter bunting, and Andy Pafko barreling into the bag. That's the way to show 'em, Andy. Buell fires again. And Bullet Bill Bruton comes tearing into third. A successful sacrifice calls for good bunting and heads-up base running. There's just plain running, too. Buell gets a full share of it in the outfield. Veteran Warren Spahn knows that a pitcher's legs are as valuable as a pitcher's arm. He circles the outfield over and over again until he's about ready to drop. Spawny's worked up a full head of steam. Man, that's rough going. But Spawn knows, as do his teammates, that hard work is the only answer to the rigorous months that lie ahead. Spring training ends, and the 1957 season is about to begin. The big question, will this be the year for the Braves? Milwaukee turns out its annual capacity.
Well, we're gonna cut out of that one right there because we're gonna save the rest of it for another show. We want to talk to Andy while he's here. Of course, I already told you, and we've been talking about what happened. That was at the beginning of the 1957 season, and that was probably the best season in Milwaukee baseball history when you guys wound up world champions. Got any favorite memories about that season, Andy?
Well, but we just had a good ball club, man for man. I mean, infield, outfield. Of course, our pitching with Burdett and Spawn and Buell. It was just a great ball club. Although I played with some great ball clubs, with the Dodgers, we had some great players with Jackie Robinson. But I think I got the biggest break when I was traded from the Dodgers to Milwaukee because I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and I have a chance to finish my career with the Braves, which I did. Yeah. And we rewarded the fans with two great World Series, won a championship in '57.
One of the annuals that I have, or one of the Cub yearbooks, I don't know if it's the 50 or 51, it relates the story about how you started your baseball career, and they wanted to send you to some far away, I think to California, to play minor league ball or something. You didn't want to move away from home?
Yeah, well, I belonged to the Brewers. I went to spring training, and that's the year they moved the ball club from the Brewers to California, the Pacific Coast. And I was disappointed because I had a chance to play before my hometown fans. But anyway, I went out there and I led the league in hitting. I hit about 356, and I was voted the most valuable player. We won the pennant by about 21 ball games. But then we got in the playoff with the Seattle, and we lost 4 straight. After winning the pennant. But it's a big break for me because then I joined the ball club in Chicago. There was 4 of us came up to the big leagues, and there was about 13 games to play, and I hit about 360. My first time up to the plate, I got a hit with Matt on second and third, and I drove in 2 runs. I came up the very next time, 2 more. I drove in 2 more runs with a double.
You were feeling pretty good.
I thought to myself, this is a piece of cake. But I soon found out it's not quite that easy. But at least I got off on the right foot.
How about you, John? You get any tips from, John and I still play men's senior baseball, and we go out to Phoenix to play in the World Series, and we play in the spring training facilities. Got any questions for Andy, or maybe give you a tip on better hitting, or what?
Oh, probably have a lot that I can't think of. What was it like to get in shape? I know nowadays the guys stay in shape all year round. Back when you were playing, you got in shape at spring training.
Well, when I played, I mean, like I said, we didn't make the kind of money they make these days. So I had a wintertime job. So of course the guys today, I mean, they belong to country clubs, and so they stay in shape all the time. Where I had to get a winter job. And
what was your winter job?
Oh, man, I worked for the Curtis Candy Company downtown. Yeah. I worked for the major sporting goods. They were around Chicago. I worked there for about 3 years, so I had to keep working. But I was glad when spring training rolled around, and I left the cold country and went to California.
Well, you were one of the big stars of the 45 Cubs that made it to the World Series, the last Cub team to make it to the World Series. Think they've got a chance this year?
Well, I like their pitching, Jim. I mean, they with Pryor, Clement, and Wood, but unfortunately, you got to score runs, and they haven't done that. But what I'm disappointed in, I mean, the guys today, I mean, all they want is hit home runs. I mean, when I played, we were lucky to hit a home run in the bleachers.
You used to hit line drives, right?
I mean, I was a line drive hitter. I went with the pitch, but today everybody swings from the heels, and not only in the bleacher, but they hit them over the buildings. But of course, the pitching is so diluted today.
It is, yeah.
I mean, the baseball itself is diluted, but I think the problem is the pitching. It's very, very sad.
Yeah. Well, you played for 17 years, and you wound up your playing career in 1959. You had a total of 213 home runs, 976 RBIs, lifetime average of 285, which is higher than a lot of guys that are in the Hall of Fame right now. And then you coached and managed. And before the show, you were telling me about all these celebrities that you had playing for you, including Dusty Baker, who now manages the Cubs. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I managed for the Braves farm system for 4 years, and And some of the guys that played for me was Ron Schuler, used to be the general manager of the White Sox, and then of course Dusty Baker, the present Cub manager, played for me in spring training as a young kid. And as a matter of fact, the Cubs had a convention here this past winter, and he was at the show, and he was talking to a bunch of reporters, and he saw me coming. He said, "Excuse me," and he came over and, "Andy, how are you? How's my old skipper?" So after all those years, I was glad to see Dusty, and I hope he's a likable guy, and he's a players like him, so I hope he does a good job.
Yeah, I think he will. I like the way he's managing from what I've seen so far. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot here, and this, I didn't tell Andy I was going to ask him a question like this, but do you have a favorite team that you played on? I mean, you're a Cubs legend, but you had some good years with the Braves and the Dodgers.
Well, that's a tough question. I mean, I enjoy playing for all the team, but I think my favorite team, if I had to pick it out, was the Cubs, because I joined the club as a first time in the big leagues, and I'll always be a Cub. You know, I mean, the Cubs are always nice to me. The front office calls me, and I go to their conventions, and I have a lifetime pass. I go to the Wrigley Field, but I sure don't abuse that pass. I mean, if I'm lucky if I go out there maybe 2-3 times a year. It's a different generation. You know, some of the guys that I play with, they passed on, but there's a few of us left, so I get to see them maybe at an old-timers game or whatever.
Yeah. You had a good time in Milwaukee a couple weeks ago, right? They dedicated something? Tell us about that.
Yeah, they dedicated the park, and they have an Andy Pafko, I mean, a big monument there. Where the old county stadium was, and they built a big monument, and of course they put all the names of the players that played from the Braves from '53 till the time they moved out.
Right.
And of course I'm the one that's named. My name is on there twice as a player and as a coach.
Wow.
So when Johnny Logan saw it, he said, "Well, they only did that because you're a Wisconsin native."
Well, you know, Logan lives in the same house that he lived in when he was playing for the Braves. He's been there all these years, and we're talking about Johnny Logan, who played for the Milwaukee Braves as their shortstop, all-star shortstop, 3 or 4 times. I glossed over your record, Andy. You were an all-star 5 times, I believe, right?
Yeah, I made it in '45, but there was no all-star game there due to the war. But then in '47, '48, '49, and '50, I made it as a center fielder and also as a third baseman one year.
Very good. We got about 2 minutes left. John, you got anything else you want to ask Andy before we have to sign off?
Well, you were telling us before the show started that you had been beaned once. What advice can you give to Sammy Sosa to get back in there and start swinging?
Well,
what did you do to
well,
get back
I got beaten. It takes a little while to get over it because you're a little gun shy, you know. But then all of a sudden you're starting to do something wrong, like we were talking before the show. You know, he's pulling a little shoulder away, but I'm sure he'll come out of it. But it just takes it takes us a little while to get his confidence back.
Anytime something goes wrong for you, it takes a while to get back to do it again.
You're a little gun shy at the beginning.
Well, we've only got a minute left, but maybe we'll have you back on the show and you can tell us more stories, especially the one where Joe Nuxhall beaned you on opening day. Joe Nuxhall, who's still broadcasting the Reds games. But that was opening day of what year?
Oh, gosh, I guess it was in '53.
Yeah, '53.
Yeah.
And,
when we went to Crosley Field.
Yeah. Well, hate to end on a sour note, but that's all the time we've got on the Pro Sport Report for today. This has been one of my favorite shows, and I've been very honored to have Andy Pafko, legend of the Chicago Cubs, Milwaukee Braves, and Brooklyn Dodgers, and John Simon, legend of men's senior baseball. Thanks for coming on the show, John. And John has got quite a collection. If you want to know anything about collecting cards, send your cards and letters to me, and I'll ask John, and he'll give you the answers. And I'm sure if you have any questions for Andy Pafko, send your cards and letters to the Pro Sport Report. And I'll get to Andy, and he'll get back to me, and we'll answer your questions for you. But that's all the time we've got for now on the Pro Sport Report. We'll see you next time. I'm Jim Capsa. Have a happy day, sports fans.
It's still tied 2-all in the 11th. 1 on, 1 out. Aaron the hitter. Hank swings. It's back. Home run for Henry. Here comes Johnny Logan heading for home. What a greeting he gets. Our Braves have clinched the pennant. And here's Hank Aaron, the hero of the night and the season. It's a mob scene at home plate. The whole gang's out there, laughing, shouting, jumping. Bedlam breaks loose in Bravesland. It's true. The Braves have won the pennant. They're champions of the National League. Yes, and starring our world champion Milwaukee Braves, the cast in order of appearance. Leading off and playing second base, Alfred Red Shandy. Batting average, .309. Fielding, sensational. A master of the double play, Red was a perfect running mate for Johnny Logan. John's steady play at short and consistent hitting in the clutch made him a big favorite with the fans. At the hot corner, Eddie Matthews, who pounded out 32 homers, drove in 94 runs, and was one of the defensive heroes of the World Series with sharp fielding and rifle-like arm. In center field, the league's most valuable player, Henry Aaron. Pity the poor pitcher when Henry draws a bead and sends one whistling. Famed for his power hitting, Hank also covers plenty of ground in the outfield and did a great job in taking over in center field. In left field, big and burly John Wesley Covington. Recalled from Wichita in mid-June, West nailed down an outfield job and made 2 game-saving catches in the World Series. Hard-luck man of the Braves, jolting Joe Adcock, who was again sidelined by injuries this season. Frank Torrey proved an able replacement, fielding brilliantly and coming through with more than his share of base hits. His average, .272 for the season. In right field, a platooning of experience and youth. Veteran Andy Pafko and rookie Bob Hazel, who contributed so much to the pennant drive. Catcher Del Crandall, whose early season clutch hitting got the Braves off to a flying start. Del Rice, considered one of baseball's smartest backstops. Charter member of the Braves' Big Three, Warren Spahn. Another 20-game season for Spahny, who's the Braves' best bet for baseball's Hall of Fame. Bob Buell, whose blazing fastball chalked up 18 big wins, 117 strikeouts, and a neat 2.74 earned run average. And of course, Nitro Lou Burdett, the unquestioned hero of the World Series. Winner of 17 season games, Lou hurled 3 series wins. Lou's all business as he sidearms a third strike past the Cubs' Walt Morin. But he likes to enjoy life when he's off the mound. A natural-born comic, Lou's crazy cloning often eases the tension in tight situations. Yes, it's an all-star cast that heads for Bradenton, Florida in the spring of 1957. Well remembered as the bitter defeat of the '56 season, the Braves are a determined bunch as they launch their spring training. Manager Fred Haney maps out the program. Hard work in the spring can mean a pennant in the fall. And hard work it is. Calisthenics iron out winter kinks and prepare the boys for even more grueling exercise to come. Hours are spent in learning how to get the jump on the pitcher. Just like the Army days, it's done en masse, by the numbers and in quick cadence. The sweat's really beginning to roll. Three-way training sees Buell pitching, the batter bunting, and Andy Pafko barreling into the bag. That's the way to show 'em, Andy. Buell fires again. And Bullet Bill Bruton comes tearing into third. A successful sacrifice calls for good bunting and heads-up base running. There's just plain running, too. Buell gets a full share of it in the outfield. Veteran Warren Spahn knows that a pitcher's legs are as valuable as a pitcher's arm. He circles the outfield over and over again until he's about ready to drop. Spahny's worked up a full head of steam. Man, that's rough going. But Spahn knows, as do his teammates, that hard work is the only answer to the rigorous months that lie ahead. Spring training ends, and the 1957 season is about to begin. The big question, will this be the year for the Braves? Milwaukee turns out its annual capacity crowd for opening day. Fans arrive early and eager, and the turnstiles merrily click on the way to racking up another new attendance record. The Cincinnati Redlegs provide the opening day opposition for the Braves. In the warmth of the dugout, manager Bertie Tebbetts holds court for visiting reporters. If he knew what Cousins' team had turned out to be for the Braves, he'd probably be chirping a different tune. Fine defensive play marks the game. Temple snags Aaron's vicious liner. Shortstop Roy McMillan stabs Danny O'Connell's bid for a base hit. That's legal larceny. It's that man McMillan again, cutting down Henry Aaron on a great play. Hank's hitting in hard luck. The fans enjoy the close, taut game. The Braves look great, too. Don Hook is finding out for trying to steal second. Lou Burdett on the stretch. Pitches. Roy McMillan wraps it hard to O'Connell. The flip to Logan. The relay to first. And Burdett's out of a jam. Al Jeffcoat's going great guns. But this time, Hammer and Hank Aaron hits it where they ain't. Far and deep into the bullpen. The big blast puts the Braves ahead 1-0. Henry circuit swat is the first of 44. He gets a big hand from the welcoming committee, and the opening day crowd is a happy one. Lou continues to horse-collar the Redlegs. And now it's the 9th inning. Burdett pitches carefully to pinch hitter Ted Kluszewski. Big Clue lines one to Logan, who makes a fine stab and doubles up Ed Bailey. Burdett's shutout is preserved, and Milwaukee wins its 5th straight opening day victory at County Stadium. The Braves went on to win 12 out of their first 14 games, and pennant fever sets in early among the fans. But the commanding lead melts away, and reinforcements in the form of Red Schoendienst arrive while the Braves are in Philadelphia. Former teammate Del Rice is mighty glad to have Red back on his side. Welcome to the Braves, Red. Catcher Del Crandall greets Red in his spanking new Braves traveling uniform. There are many who say the pennant was won this weekend, just a few hours before the June 15th trading deadline. Fielding gems like this make Red an immediate favorite with the home fans. Baseball's Huck Finn has found a home in the hearts of Milwaukeeans. More fielding finesse. Campanella's bid for a hit is turned into a quick twin killing. The crowd loves it, and how. Red plays heads-up ball. He grabs Ballo's hopper, tags Samoli, and fires the first for another double play. The fans have found another hero. They love to watch Red hit, too. With his choke-style grip, Red rattles one right down the line and racks up an easy double. One of the best switch hitters in the game, Red provided the spark that ignited the pennant flame. One of the great stories of the season is the way the Braves won out despite an unprecedented run of injuries that had trainer Doc Ferrin doing double duty. Joe Adcock fractured his ankle and was out for more than half the year. The Braves really missed Adcock's booming bat and ability to drive men home. Another major casualty, speedy Bill Bruton, who collided in midseason with Felix Mantilla and was sidelined for the rest of the year. This unusual outfield of Covington, bonus rookie Johnny Demerit, and Nippy Jones is typical of the patchwork lineup the Braves are forced to play. The string of injuries result in a rookie by the name of Robert Hazel being called up from Wichita. Hazel? Oh yes, he was tossed in on the George Crow deal. It wasn't long before they were calling Bob Hurricane Hazel, as he went on a hitting spree that soared his average to 500 and more. The Hurricane blast one deep into the bleachers to drive in 2 runs against the Cards. Hazel finished the season with a healthy .403 batting mark. Defensively, Hazel more than measured up to Major League standards. Bob roams to the cinder path to snag Al Dark's long fly. Another Brave to take up the injury slack was Felix Mantilla, who filled in for the injured Johnny Logan in big league fashion. Mantilla shows his cat-like quickness as he takes the toss from Red and wings the relay to Torrey. The Braves bullpen played a big part in the pennant bid. Ernie Johnson chalked up a 7-3 record in relief. Rookie Don McMahon led all Braves hurlers with a 1.53 earned run average. Other memorable moments, the Braves say farewell to the historic Polo Grounds. Ruben Gomez is on the mound for the Giants. Shane Dean lays down a perfect bunt that gets away from Gomez. Torrey follows with a humpback liner that looks like a sure hit, but shortstop Brasil makes a sensational catch and holds on for dear life. Eddie Matthews keeps the pot boiling with a sharp single to right that drives in rookie Bob Taylor and pinch runner Dick Cole. Johnny Logan climaxes a 4-run inning with a sharp single to center, scoring Eddie Matthews. The Braves are leading by a 4-2 margin. Dave Jolly relieving. Shortstop Eddie Brasil drives one to the lower left field deck. A history-making homer, the last you'll see in those famous short stands of the Polo Grounds. The Giants prove troublesome as Whitey Lockman singles to right. The bingo moves Don Mueller around to third base in a cloud of dust. Former Brave Danny O'Connell ground sharply to Torrey, who fires to Crandall. Mueller's in a jam. Crandall throws to Matthews, who makes the tag. The relay to second. Too late. Ray Jablonski hits a routine pop to left, but neither Logan nor Covington can come up with the ball. A big break for the Giants. Hank Sauer is pinch hitting. He comes through with a sharp single to left that scores 2 runs, which give the Giants a come-from-behind victory. The Braves leave the Polo Grounds for the last time. More than anything else, it's the Braves and you fans who are responsible for the changing face of baseball. The Dodgers, too, are heading westward, and famed Ebbets Field is visited by the Braves for their final series. The Braves are reluctant to say so long, for they dearly love to bang the ball in the cozy confines of Brooklyn's ballpark. The sad face and tattered raiment of clown Emmett Kelly add a nostalgic note to the final doings in Dodgerville. 1957 is really a history-making season. A happy one for Braves fans, a sad one for Giant and Dodger rooters. Nor is it very jubilant for Johnny Podres. Nippy Jones takes little heed of Padres' World Series reputation and blasts one of his cut pitches high into the stands. Yes, sir, the Braves really love this part. They can't do this to me, says Johnny. But Henry Aaron proves otherwise, and the ball takes another ride. When Hank gets good one on the ball, it's long gone and far away. Circuit swats like this enable Aaron to set the homer pace in both major leagues. One thing about Padres, he won't give up. So now it's Andy Pafko's turn to pound one out of the park. The Brooklyn outfielders are really getting to meet the fans in the stands. 3 homers in 1 inning build up an early lead for Milwaukee, which is exactly what you need against the Dodgers. The ever-dangerous Duke Snyder gets the home run habit and drives in 3 big runs. Looks like another one of those typical Braves Brooklyn Donnebrooks. Now it's 8-7 in favor of the Braves. Brooklyn is still threatening, and manager Fred Haney decides to relieve with his ace. Lou Burdette doesn't seem to mind working overtime. A sidearm pitch to Charlie Neal. Eddie Matthews grabs the hopper and really rifles it to first. Burdette's fine relief chore stops the Dodgers cold, and the Braves own a big win over the Bums. Milwaukee took 12 out of 22 from Brooklyn during the season. The flags fly high over Ebbets Field and end another chapter in baseball history. Back in Milwaukee, our sidekick Blaine Walsh confers with Fred Haney. Look at that outfit. No wonder they call him Broadway Blaine. Yours truly, still hopeful of learning to pull the ball, gets some batting tips from a guy who knows, Mr. Henry Louis Aaron. Brooklyn's in town, and the stands are jam-packed with eager fans. Charlie Neal lifts one to right. Pafko makes a diving stab, but misses. Neal goes all the way to third in a fluke 3-bagger. The fans wear a worried look. Jim Gilliam delivers a hit, and Neal checks in with the first run of the game. The fans seem frozen in their seats. But the Braves bounce back as Hazel bangs a long ball to right. Hurry, Bob. The Hurricane whips up a storm sliding into second. And the fans feel a bit better. Johnny the Logue tees off, and you know the ball's gone the moment he hits it. The fans are having a field day. Johnny Logan scores behind Hazel, and the Braves are off and running against Brooklyn. The pitch to Aaron, and man, that ball is hit. What a sock. One of the longest we've seen. It's amazing the power that Hank, who's not the biggest man in baseball, can generate with his slashing wrist action. His timing's terrific. As usual, the Dodgers refuse to dive. Hodges drives them past Matthews. Okay, gang, let's take 2 now. Ernie Johnson gives up a center field single to Campanella that scores Hodges. The Braves' big lead is going down the drain. The crowd is pleading as the Dodgers narrow the score to 9-7, Braves' favor. What's this? Warren Spahn called him to relieve. Rarely is he used against Brooklyn. It's 1 out, and the bases are loaded. What a spot for Spahny. Don Zimmer lifts one high down the line. Torrey squeezes it for a big out. Attaboy, Spahny, just 1 more to go. Should Spahn stay in to pitch to the right-handed batter? The vote? A unanimous yes. Gilliam tries to stop his swing, but Del Rice calls the 3rd strike, and the umpire agrees. How happy can a fella be? There seems to be a difference of opinion. The Dodgers feel they got a bum call and gently point out to the umpire the error of his ways. But it's no dice. The Braves' winning ways have the fans turning the turnstiles at a record-breaking pace. And with the second-place Cardinals in town, the sold-out sign is a familiar sight. Even bleacher seats are at a premium. The fans line up in large numbers for a perch in the park. When it comes to waiting for the gates to open, well, every fan has his own way of marking time. These fans, the bleacherites, are the backbone of baseball. The gates are opened and the big push is on. Servicemen, youngsters, young men and old from every walk of life jam the stands to watch the Braves play ball. For the 5th year, Milwaukee led the majors in attendance and set another brand new National League record. One of the big attractions, the batting duel between Henry Aaron and Stan Musial. Henry's average fell off following an ankle injury. while staying the man up to his to win another batting crown. Sports-minded Norman R. Klug looks forward to a big game along with Joe Carnes and owner Lou Perini. In extra innings, the Cards lead 4-3. Torrey keeps our hopes alive as Delanis misses a shoestring catch and a slice fly to left. Clutch hitter Eddie Matthews comes through with a single to center. That sends pinch runner Bob Taylor to third. We need 2 runs. Come on, gang, let's pull this one out of the fire. It's that man again. Aaron drives in Taylor with the tying run. Eddie Matthews rounds third and comes charging home. It's going to be close. Safe. And it's a big, big win for the Braves. The next day's Sunday doubleheader is marred by heavy rains, and the ground crew works overtime. Special absorbent chemicals are spread to dry out the moisture-soaked infield. Milwaukee fans are no fair-weather friends. They're ready for anything, and they came to watch baseball. The slippery footing provides some rare defensive treats, like this double play launched by Red Shanding. Looks like a blizzard in August. Blassingame hits one into the drifts, but Red refuses to become snowblind and tosses to second for the force out. Now watch this one. Torrey lofts gently to right, and Joe Cunningham comes up with a circus catch here. These are the kind you have to see to believe. Braves lead 6-2, end of the 7th. But Stan Musial whistles a single up the middle, and the Cards are fighting back. Who can eat at a time like this? Gene Conley on the hill for Milwaukee. Alvin Dark drives a single into left. The Cards are desperately closing the gap. They say you can't part a boy and his dog, especially a hot dog. Casco comes through with a clutch single that drives in 2 runs. The Cards have overcome a 4-run deficit. They tie it up at 6-all in the 9th, win in extra innings, and go on to sweep the doubleheader. It's indeed a dreary day in Braves land. The Cards return to Milwaukee for a pennant showdown in late September. In the clubhouse, manager Fred Hutchinson discusses the Braves' batting order with one of his aces, pitcher Larry Jackson. The pennant's riding on every game now. The Braves are a determined bunch as they take the field. Victory's in sight, but they're not forgetting 56. The game is tense and dramatic as they come. Musial single to center, sends Wally Moon to third. The Cards are threatening, and some sharp defensive play is much in order. From the stretch, Lou Burdett fires. The ball is hit sharply to Logan. He throws to Crandall. Moon is trapped. Crandall to Matthews. Back to Crandall, and crash. It's a big, loud out. Now the Braves have the bases loaded. Crandall grounds to Dark. The play is at home plate, and a charging Adcock is cut down by Hobie Landreth. The bases are still loaded. Burdett hits to Casco, who whips it home for the force on Pafko. A run means the pennant, but we can't cross that plate. Come on, Torrey, get a hit. But with the bases loaded in the 10th, Torrey grounds to Musial, who fires home to force demerit. The throw back to first doubles up Torrey. This game is one of frenzy and frustration. It's still 2-all. Conley holds the Cards in the 11th, and Logan starts things off with a solid single to center. This inning, we've got to do it. We've been waiting 5 years. Let's get it now. And get it we do, as Aaron hits his historic home run to bag the bunny. A jubilant Johnny Logan crosses the plate with a pennant-clinching run, and pandemonium breaks loose at Milwaukee County Stadium. The fans and Braves will long remember this wonderful night of September 23rd, 1957. The laughing Brave is really laughing, and well he might. Milwaukee's first World Series has the whole town tingling. Let's go get 'em, gang. It's Spahn pitching in Sunday's thriller. Gil McDougall singles sharply. Mickey Mantle comes across, and the Yanks take an early 1-0 lead. In the third, Eddie Matthews crashes a double for his first World Series hit. Johnny Logan hot-foots at the third, and the bat is in the fire. Hank Aaron comes through with a terrific clout that scores 3 big runs, and the Braves take a 3-1 lead. Aaron batted .393 in the series, hit safely in all 7 games, and easily walked off with the hitting honors. The happy hometown crowd has more to celebrate. Frank Torrey follows up with another home run. Frank picks a great spot for his first circuit swat in the stadium. The Braves ahead 4-1. Spahn pitches magnificently, but only 1 out from victory. He gives up a soft single to Yogi Berra. Spahn stretches, delivers, and Gil McDougall lines when the just eludes Red Schoendienst's desperate leap. No wonder these Yanks are perennial champions. They just don't give up. 2 on, 2 out. Howard at bat. He connects solidly, and the ball is going, gone. A 3-run homer that ties the score. The Yanks won 2 of the first 3 games, and a win today will give them a commanding lead. The Braves fail to score in the 9th. With Tony Kubek on first, it's Bauer at bat. Hank hits a screaming drive. Kubek tallies the lead run. The chips are down now. Nippy Jones takes first after being nipped on the foot. Felix Mantilla running for Jones. Bob Grimm is the Yankee hurler. He fires. Johnny Logan laces one to left. This scores Mantilla with the tying run. Is Johnny going for 3? Whoops! Get back there, Johnny. The pitch to Matthews, and there it goes. What a spot for a homer. The Braves come back to win 7-5. Eddie's the man of the hour, the hero of the game. The Braves go on to win the World Series at Yankee Stadium, and all Wisconsin stages a wild and woolly celebration. After 5 fabulous years, the frenzied fans receive their reward. The Braves are National League champions. The Braves are world champions. Hail to the Braves!
Yes, a victory series it is indeed. And here in Detroit, where so many of the tools of victory were turned out, it's in the air. All Detroit wants another kind of victory today. They're out to see the Detroit Tigers, their favorite ball team, battle the Chicago Cubs in this 42nd World Series. Let's go inside. A crowd of well over 54,000 is on hand to see this colorful opening game of the 1945 Baseball Classic. Briggs Stadium, like Wrigley Field in Chicago, is one of the finest ballparks in the country, and it's packed with loyal fans. Over 1 million strong during the past season followed the Tigers right down to the last day when the pennant was won. It was the bat of Hank Greenberg, recently released from the Army, whose ninth-inning home run decided the pennant. The Tigers took the lead on June 12th and held it right up to the close of the season. The Chicago Cubs took the lead on July the 11th and grabbed their flag in a game with the Pirates a day before the season ended. For the Tigers, Hal Newhouser has been one of the mainstays in the pennant drive, winning 25 while losing only 9. And here's Eddie Mayo, a valuable Tiger player who has won a warm spot in the hearts of Detroit fans. Roy Cullenbine has been right in there too, driving in 92 runs this season, including 18 home runs. And here are some of the Cubs who sparked their pennant drive. Phil Cabarretta, first baseman, led the National League this year, hitting 355. Another Cub 300 hitter, Andy Pafko, led his team in the all-important runs batted in column with 111 to his credit. Stan Hackfield's right at home, tuning up for his 4th World Series, all with the Cubs. His dependable hitting is one of the Cubs' trump cards. Well, it won't be long now before this first game gets underway. So let's take a quick look around and see who's here. Fans, there's Walter O. Briggs, owner of the Detroit Tigers, and his son, Spike Briggs, looking pretty enthusiastic about the Tigers' chances. And right over there, well, it just wouldn't be a World Series without him, is the grand old man of baseball, Connie Mack, talking things over with William Herridge, president of the American League. Senator Chandler is on hand for his first series as the new commissioner of baseball. And here are the men who steered these teams to a championship: Steve O'Neill and Charlie Grimm. In 1944, Steve just missed the American League pennant by a single game. But here he is back, stronger than ever, with one flag tucked away and his eye on the World Championship. Charlie Grimm, the likable Cubs manager, piloted his team to a National League pennant as far back as 1932. He's been the Cub manager many years and has never finished in the second division. The two starting pitchers in this important first game, Hank Borowy for the Cubs and Hal Newhouser for the Tigers. While the pitchers are getting ready, let's have a look at the lineups for today's game. For the Cubs, Stanley Hack, third base. Don Johnson, second base. Peanuts Lowry, left field. Phil Cabarretta, first base. Andy Pafko, center field. Bill Nicholson, right field. Mickey Livingston, catching. Roy Hughes, shortstop. And Hank Borowy, pitching. For the Tigers, Skeeter Webb, shortstop. Eddie Mayo, second base. Roger Kramer, center field. Hank Greenberg, left field. Roy Cullenbine, right field. Rudy York, first base. Jimmy Outlaw, third base. Paul Richards, catching. And Hal Newhouser, pitching. And the big moment we've been waiting for is at hand. The managers and umpires talk over the ground rules. The 1945 World Series is on. Play ball, the umpire says, and Stan Hack steps into the batter's box. Now Newhouser is on the mound getting his sign. Here's the pitch, and Hack slashes a grounder to Outlaw at third. He's out at first. Johnson followed with an infield hit back of second base. Then taking a good lead, Johnson breaks for second on the pitch, and he's safe. After Lowry flied to Kramer, Cabarretta beat out a slow roller to Mayo at second. Johnson going to third on the play. Then on a pass ball, Johnson scores and Cabarretta takes second. The Cubs start the fireworks with one run home. Pafko was purposely passed, and Big Bill Nicholson steps up to the plate. He swings and lifts a long fly to right center, 370 feet from home plate. Roy Cullenbine backs up near the wall, but the ball gets away from him, and Nicholson comes into third with a triple to his credit. Both Cabarretta and Pafko score, giving the Cubs a 3-0 lead. Mickey Livingston singles sharply to center, scoring Nicholson for the 4th run of the inning, with the World Series barely underway. In the Cubs' third, Johnson lined a double to right center, and after Lowry sacrificed him to third, Cabarretta hit one into center field for a base hit, scoring Johnson with run number 5. Andy Pafko followed with a line drive double to left center, scoring Cabarretta. After Nicholson popped to Mayo for the second out, Livingston singled to center, scoring Pafko. That put the Cubs in the lead 7-0, and that was all for Newhouser. Al Benton came in to pitch for the Tigers. Livingston was out stealing, ending the inning, and giving the Tigers a breather. Going into the last half of the fifth, Mayo singled sharply to left. Now the crowd is really on its feet with a Tiger rally finally shaping up. After Kramer was out, Greenberg lined a single to right center. But when Mayo tried for third, he was out on a great throw from Pafko to Hack. And that killed the Tigers' scoring chances in this inning. The Cubs added 2 more runs in the 7th to make the score 9-0. With 2 men on in the Tiger ninth, pinch hitter McHale flies to Pafko to end the first game of the 1945 World Series with a one-sided victory for the Chicago Cubs, who hit when they had men on the bases. That was the story of their 9-0 victory in today's World Series opener. There's another sellout crowd here today, pulling for the Tigers in the second game. The starting pitchers are Henry Wise for the Cubs and Virgil Trucks for the Tigers. And we're all ready to go. Going into the Cub fourth with 1 out, Phil Cavaretta pumped a double to right center field. After Pafko was retired, Nicholson singled to right center, scoring Cavaretta, and the Cubs lead 1-0. The Tigers were held scoreless until the 5th inning, when after 2 outs, Webb rammed a base hit to left field. Mayo walked, and when Kramer singled to left, Webb scored, and Mayo pulled up at third. This tied the count at 1 apiece. The slugging Hank Greenberg is the next batter, and the pitcher Wise eyes him carefully. He gets his signal. Here comes the pitch, and there it goes. A long smash deep into the left center field stands, clearing the high screen 400 feet from the plate for a tremendous home run. Greenberg scores behind Mayo and Kramer, putting the Tigers in front 4-1. And here is the finished form of that Greenberg home run swing. There was no further scoring in the ball game, and when pinch batter Heinz Becker struck out in the Cub ninth, the old ball game was in the bag for the Tigers by a score of 4-1, leaving the series at 1 game each. For the final game at Briggs Stadium, Stubby Obermeyer is manager O'Neill's choice for the 3rd game, with Richards as his battery mate. For the Cubs, it's Claude Passaw, a 17-game winner this season. Here are York, Greenberg, and Cullenbine, the power hitters of the Detroit Tigers. Now with the game underway, York lined a single to left in the Tigers' second, but was left stranded on first. It was fairly quiet in this game until the 4th inning, when Lowry opened with a double against the left field wall, and the Cubs were on their way again. Cavaretta advanced him to third with a neat sacrifice, and when Pafko walked, Obermeyer and the Tigers were in real trouble. Stubb went to work in earnest, but Big Bill Nicholson poked one over short. And Lowry scored, Pafko stopping at second. After Livingston flied out to Kramer, Hughes followed with a base hit to right, scoring Pafko, and the Cubs lead the Tigers 2-0. With Benton pitching, the Cubs came to life again in their half of the 7th. Livingston doubled off the right field screen. And Hughes bunted him to third in scoring position. The Cubs pitcher, Claude Passaw, followed with a long fly ball to Kramer in center. Livingston tagging up and scoring after the catch to put the Cubs in front 3-0. Here in the last half of the 9th, in the Tigers' final stand, Passaw really applied the handcuffs, getting Richards to foul out to Cavaretta. Then Hostetler batted for Benton and was out, short to first. McHale batting for Webb popped to Livingston, ending the game and putting the Cubs up on the Tigers 2-1. In one of the most brilliant pitching performances in World Series history, the Cubs' Claude Passaw defeated the Tigers 3-0 before a crowd of 55,500 spectators with a one-hit performance that was equaled only once before in World Series play. Rudy York made the only base hit off the pitching of Passaw. Here is manager Charlie Grimm with his 2 winning pitchers, feeling pretty good about it all. But before we leave Briggs Stadium, let's look at some of the American League players recently released from the armed forces. Here's the slugging Yankee outfielder Charlie Keller, back again with the swing that made him famous. Luke Appling, shortstop of the Chicago White Sox. Bob Feller, pitching ace of the Cleveland Indians, a headache for any big league batter. Buddy Lewis of the Washington Senators. Sam Chapman, outfielder of the Philadelphia Athletics, and young Dave Ferris of the Boston Red Sox, a 21-game winner his first year, recently released from the Army Air Forces. These and many others will be back with us again next year. And now, it's on to Chicago. And now we take you to beautiful Wrigley Field, the home of the Chicago Cubs. Let's go inside and look around. The large double-deck seating arrangement affords a fine view of action all over the field here in Chicago. Owner Wrigley is justly proud of this ballpark. In the center field bleachers, an area has been reserved for 200 patients from the Army's Vaughn Hospital in Chicago. A capacity crowd turned out to welcome the Cubs back to Wrigley Field. They're going to see Paul Dizzy Trout of the Tigers start against their Cubs. Trout shows some of his favorite grips on the Spalding National League ball, which, together with the Reach official American League ball, have been used in all World Series play. And over here we have southpaw Prim getting set to go into action for the Cubs. The last-minute conference is on between the managers and umpires about ground rules at Wrigley Field, and we're ready to go. There was no scoring until the Tiger half of the 4th inning, when, after Skeeter Webb had been retired, Mayo drew Prim's only pass. Kramer then lined out the first Tiger hit. Hank Greenberg slashed a single to left, scoring Mayo with the first run of the game. Prim worked carefully now, but Cullenbine whizzed a double just inside the left field foul line, scoring Kramer, Greenberg being held up at third. At this point, manager Grimm removes Prim, replacing him with the veteran right-hander Paul Derringer, with the Tigers leading 2-0. Derringer now proceeds to give York an intentional pass, loading the bases. Jimmy Outlaw then forced York at second, Greenberg scoring on the play. Catcher Paul Richards singled to center field for his first hit of the series, scoring Cullenbine, and putting the Tigers in front by a score of 4-0. Don Johnson led off the Cubs' 6th with a booming triple to the far right field corner. Lowry grounded to third base, and Johnson apparently was trapped. However, Outlaw threw to first, retiring Lowry. On the return, York's throw got away, Johnson scoring the Cubs' first run. At the end of the 6th, it was Tigers 4, Cubs 1. With 6 strikeouts and a 5-hit game to his credit going into the 9th, Trout was working in masterful fashion. Cavaretta lined to Kramer in center field for the first out. Pafko was an easy out, third to first. And when Nicholson fouled out to Richards, the catcher, the Detroit Tigers were victors in game number 4 by a score of 4-1. Trout was the winning pitcher and Prim the loser. This evened up the series at 2 games each, and into the record book goes the story of another well-pitched World Series game. For the 5th game at Wrigley Field, it was Baroe starting for the Cubs and Hal Newhouser for the Tigers. With the score tied at 1 run apiece going into the 6th inning, Kramer, first man up for the Tigers, singled to center field. When Pafko fumbled the ball, he pulled up at second. Greenberg then lined a double into left field, scoring Kramer. And the Cub bullpen suddenly became an active spot. Cullenbine beat out a hit to Cavaretta, advancing Greenberg to third. And when Rudy York followed with a safe hit to center field, scoring Greenberg, Baroe was replaced by High Vandenberg, with the Tigers in front of the Cubs 3-1. Jimmy Outlaw sacrificed both runners along, and Richards was purposely passed, filling the bases. Vandenberg then walked Newhouser, forcing in Cullenbine, and the bases still remained loaded with Tiger runners. Webb forced Newhouser at second, with York scoring on the play, putting the Tigers ahead by 5-1. With Paul Derringer pitching in the seventh, Greenberg hit a looping fly into left, which fell between Murillo and Lowry for a two-base hit. Cullenbine sacrificed, and Hank was safe at third when Derringer threw too late to Hack. After York flied to Pafko, Outlaw lined deep to center, Greenberg scoring after the catch, and that made it 6-1 for the Tigers. The Cubs came to life in their half of the seventh and scored 2 runs, making it 6-3. With Kramer on first in the Tiger ninth, Greenberg walloped his third double of the game, Kramer stopping at third. Roy Cullenbine followed with a 2-bagger to center, scoring Kramer and Greenberg, with Pafko having a little difficulty locating the ball in the beautiful Wrigley Field landscaping. Ground rules limited this wallop to a 2-base hit, and this just about wrapped up the game for the Tigers at 8-3. In the last half of the ninth, Phil Cavaretta looped the fly ball into right center between Kramer and Cullenbine for a double, as the Tiger outfielders seemed to get their signals crossed. Newhouser bore down, getting Pafko for his 9th strikeout victim of the game. But Bill Nicholson rapped out a single, scoring Cavaretta, and the Cubs were still in a fighting mood. After Livingston flied to Cullenbine, Schuster popped to catcher Richards, and the game was Tiger victory number 3 against 2 for the Cubs, with Hal Newhouser the winner over Hank Baroe. The score being Detroit 8, Chicago 4. Game at Wrigley Field, Virgil Trucks and Claude Passaw are back, gunning for their second victory in the series, with another capacity crowd on hand. With the Tigers ahead 1-0, Pafko singled through the box in the Cubs' half of the second. After Nicholson fouled out, Livingston forced Pafko at second, and when Webb threw wild to first, Livingston tried to take second but was tagged out, Richards to Webb. Don't get angry, boys. In the 5th inning for the Cubs, after Livingston started with a single to center field, Hughes beat out a bunt when York slipped in fielding the ball. Passaw then hit a bounder to Trucks, and all runners were safe when the throw to third pulled Outlaw off the bag. Hack came through again with a single to center, scoring Livingston and Hughes. And when Richards missed Kramer's throw to the plate, Passaw went to third base and Hack to second. After Johnson was out and Lowry walked, filling the bases, the dependable Cavaretta lined to hit to center, scoring Passaw and Hack, putting the Cubs in front 4-1. Here's the Tiger 7th, with the Cubs now in front 5-1. Hostetler batting for Webb was safe on Hack's fumble. Mayo was an easy out, but Kramer singled to left. And Hostetler stumbled after rounding third base and was out trying to score, Lowry to Livingston to Hughes. Greenberg walked. Then Cullenbine singled to center, scoring Kramer. Manager Charlie Grimm decides to replace Passaw at this point with another right-hander, Henry Wise. But York greets him with a base hit to left field, scoring Greenberg. This made the score Cubs 5, Tigers 3. The Cubs came back with 2 in the 7th, making the score 7-3. The Tigers were still in there battling in the 8th. With catcher Swift on base, pinch hitter Walker doubled over first, sending Swift to third. Hack fumbled Hoover's grounder, and Swift scored. After Mayo singled to center, scoring Walker, another change of pitchers took place for the Cubs, as Prim replaced Wise. Lowry made a shoestring catch of Kramer's looping fly, but Hoover scored after the catch. And here's Hank Greenberg on the spot again. Prim looks him over carefully with the count 3-2. Greenberg connects with a long drive that clears the left field railing into the crowd for a home run, tying the score 7-7. It was Hank's second important home run blow of the series to put the Tigers back into the ball game. Both teams battled on into extra innings with good pitching from Trout, who went to the mound for Detroit in the 8th, and Baroe, who started the 9th for Chicago. In the 11th, Mayo stopped a Cub threat with a nice catch of Pafko's Texas leaguer into short right field. In the last of the 12th, Sikori batted for Murillo and singled to center. Schuster was sent in to run for Sikori, and Trout was still going strong, setting Baroe down on strikes. Stan Hack looks over and selects one of his favorite Louisville Slugger models that has made him a threat at bat in the National League for years. Hack then lines a double into left field. Greenberg comes running in to cut down the hit. The ball takes a bad hop over his left shoulder, which enabled Schuster to score all the way from first base with the winning run of the ball game. In 12 innings, the Cubs are victors over the Tigers, 8-7. Hank Baroe was the winning pitcher with his second victory of the series, and Trout the loser. Well, here we are at the 7th and deciding game, the crucial one in this first World Series after victory. Even the band here at Wrigley Field has caught the spirit of this game. Just look at those drum majorettes. Now over here we see Baroe, anchorman of the Cubs, warming up. He'd like to make it 3 pitching victories over the Tigers and the clinching game at that. Hal Newhouser, the ace left-hander, has his own ideas about that, and we'll know the answer very shortly. The Tigers were not to be denied as Webb opened the game with a base hit. His teammate Mayo followed with a safe hit to right, sending Webb to third. Kramer looped a safe one into left field, scoring the first Tiger run. And here comes Charlie Grimm to remove Baroe from the ball game and replace him with Derringer, with 1 run home and Tigers on first and second. Greenberg crossed up the Cubs by advancing both runners on a sacrifice bunt, Cavaretta handling the play unassisted. Cullenbine was intentionally passed, filling the bases. After York popped to Hack, it looked like the trouble was over, but Derringer walked outlaw, forcing in Mayo. Catcher Paul Richards walloped a healthy double to left field, scoring Kramer, Cullenbine, and Outlaw, giving the Tigers 5 big runs in the first inning of the final World Series game. Newhouser was really bearing down in the 5th with a 6-2 lead, as both Hughes and Sauer were strikeout victims. In the Tigers' 7th, with Erickson pitching, Cullenbine on first and 2 out, Richards doubled to right center, scoring Cullenbine and driving in his 4th run of the game. Score, the Tigers 7, the Cubs 2. The Tigers added 2 more to their total in the 8th, with Passaw pitching, making it 9-2. And here we are in the 9th and final inning of the last World Series game of 1945. Hughes singles off Newhouser. McCullough came to bat for the pitcher, Wise, but he became Newhouser's 10th strikeout victim of the game. Hack flied to Kramer in center field for the 2nd out, and when Don Johnson forced Hughes at second, the Detroit Tigers became the 1945 champions of the baseball world. Yes, these Tigers are a happy lot after today's game, as they realize that their baseball work is over for the year, with a pennant won the last day of the season, and with the final victory coming in the 7th game of the World Series after a nip-and-tuck battle. The capacity crowds lifted the total attendance at all World Series play to more than 8 million. No wonder baseball is called our national game.